Today's episode is about God of High School. This is a South Korean action series. As always, there are spoilers ahead, so keep that in mind if you haven't seen it. Mori Jin wakes up having had a bad dream about his grandfather, Tae-jin. He realizes that he's woken up late and races out of his house on a pedal bike. Meanwhile, Han Dae-wi is just finishing a night shift, and Yoo Mira is lost trying to find her way to the arena. It turns out all three of these people are entrants in the God of High School tournament, an all-styles, all-weapons tournament that only admits the strongest high schoolers in the country. The winner gets any wish granted. All the fighters are brought into the arena and told the first match is a battle royale. Jin, Han, and Mira all hold their own in this fight. Jin uses Taekwondo, Han is a karate user, and Mira uses a wooden sword. However, mid-match a fighter, Kang Man-seok, gets brought in unexpectedly. He tears his way through most of the competitors, and even Mira struggles when she comes up against him. Seeing this, Jin rushes in and begins a fight with Kang. Jin, Han, and Mira are walking home alongside a river. It turns out that the fight between Kang and Jin ended almost immediately when Mira attacked Jin. She had lost her glasses and thought he was Kang. The next day, they're in the green room waiting for their matches when Kang threatens Jin. Go Gamdo, Kang's first opponent, steps in to defend Jin. Mira, Han, and Jin all easily get through the first round matches. Kang and Go's match begins, but Kang absolutely destroys Go. Although he could win easily, he tries to break all of Go's arms and legs. Jin comes out of nowhere and kicks Kang in the head. The commissioners of GOH, God of High School, show up because match interferences is a huge breach of the rules. Kang comes back at Jin with chariot kicks. Jin manages to defeat Kang, but is then held to the ground by someone he can't see. It turns out that it's Mujin Park, a commissioner for Go. Jin is taken from the arena while the audience goes wild. A cult is taking interest in Go. At the same time, the commissioners are trying to decide what to do with Jin. It turns out that both Go and Kang are out of the competition due to the last match. They decide that if Jin can beat Commissioner Q, he can stay in the competition. Mira has a much tougher fight than the last round, but she narrowly gets a win. Mujin Park gives Jin a bag of fruit. Park and Judge P disagree about the fruit, but Park admits it's a test for Jin. Back at home, Jin collapses. Han has a match the next day which starts badly. Eventually, he manages to get the upper hand by using the karate school's secret techniques. He wins the match, but Jin only just gets to his in time. Jin knocks the commissioner down 1 second into the match. This causes the commissioner to fly into a rage. He summons a chariot jester with a giant scythe. Jin can't beat this and is only saved when the commissioners restrain Q. Park realizes that Jin is what he's been looking for, and Jin is reinstated in the competition. As the semi-finals of the preliminaries approach, a man jumps out of a car and begs Mira to marry him. She initially says no, but when it's revealed that he's an international film star who can put Mira's moonlight sword style on the map, she agrees. She has a flashback to when her dad died. After his death, she went to live with her uncle, who took over her dad's dojo, but because he was so weak, all the students left. Jin shows up at Mira's house after learning that she's dropped out of the competition, but she sends him away. He calls Han to the wedding to try and help him put a stop to it. They manage to infiltrate the wedding and speak to Mira. It turns out that the groom is actually working for the cult. Mira's uncle and cousin convince her to marry for love rather than the dojo, and she manages to defeat her fiancé in a fight. He runs off, stealing her training sword as he goes. Han goes to visit a friend in hospital. It turns out the treatment for his friend is why Han entered Go. Unfortunately, he takes a turn for the worse. Han takes his anger out on Mira in their semi-finals match. He beats her so badly that the announcer ends the match. Jin easily defeats his opponent in the semi-finals match and now needs to face Han in the finals. Jin goes to visit Mira in the hospital, and it turns out she's recovering well. As the final starts, Han gets the upper hand in the battle, but it seems like the two of them are pretty evenly matched in terms of skill. Jin asks how Han could treat a friend like he treated Mira. Han tells Jin he never thought of them as friends. At the same time, Mira is being discharged from the hospital, where she runs into Han's sick friend. Unfortunately, the friend dies in front of her. Han hits Jin with his ultimate move, and Jin is knocked down. Han flashes back to a meeting with Mujin Park. They talk about Han's wish, which is if he wins the Go, they treat his friend with the nanomachines. Han says his friend won't live until the end of the Go. Park says that if Han can overwhelmingly win in both of the semis and the finals, start the treatment on his friend. Struggles back to his feet, Park appears at the ringside and tells his friend died. The news shocks Han, and Jin manages to get a big lead in the fight. Just as things look like they're over for Han, Mira turns up and tells him to fight harder. She gives him a letter from his friend, and Han realizes that both Mira and Jin are his friends as well. The fight continues with both giving it their all. Jin uses a new move and gets the win. Han and Jin shake hands and the crowd cheers. Park realizes he has two fighters with potential. One of the cult members approached Tae-jin in the wilderness and tells him he should follow his destiny. It turns out that the main tournament will now be a team-based battle featuring the top 3 participants from each of the preliminaries. This means that the losers in the semis need to fight to determine third place. Mira easily wins. The commissioners have a meeting to discuss the rule change, where Park tells the others that their boss thinks that there are a lot of people that have entered this time that have the potential to become the key, which is why they want more people in the main go. They also discuss the cult, Nox. Park tells the others that due to the increased activity from Nox, he has contacted the Six. Jin spends this time training. Mira is looking for a way to get stronger, and Han confronts Park about the mysterious power behind the competition. Nox and Tae-jin fight in the mountains. Nox summons a massive sword from the sky to attack Tae-jin. Park tells Han all about Charyuk, the borrowing of powers from gods and demons, and warns him that the other teams will all be using Charyuk in the competition. Han tells the rest of his team about this, and they all agree to get stronger. The Nox assassins manage to kill the announcer and Judge Q as the national go begins. The national tournament opens with Team Seoul, Jin's team, and Team Septrional, Chuncheong. Jin is the first combatant for his team, and he wants to try out his new move. He announces that he's learned to control pressure points and can unleash more power. He presses the wrong points and paralyzes himself, losing quickly. Judge Q launches a surprise attack on the assassin. It turns out he was faking his death. He easily beats the assassin, but 2 more members of Nox show up and launch a counterattack. Luckily for Q, Judge O shows up just in time. Back at the Go, Han's match is underway. His opponent is a Charyuk user who can summon a giant hammer. Han realizes the only way to get stronger is to win. He smashes the hammer and wins the match. Q and O seem to have the upper hand in their battle. They manage to wound 2 priests of Nox who eventually escape. The commissioners are discussing what happened when the assassin uses Charyuk to detonate himself and blow up the entire flat. Mira's match is against another sword user who realizes straight away that she can't match Mira's skill with a blade. She also has a Charyuk, which is a giant sword made of light. Mira manages to quickly overpower her and win. The commissioners have learned that Q and O are still alive, but they've found also that Jin's grandfather's arm, along with evidence he's been kidnapped by Nox. The next match features a man called Jigal Tiak, who is so brutal that Jin wants to get involved in the match. Mira stops him, but doesn't realize that Han has interrupted the match himself. Jigal puts an end to his opponent. For interfering in the match, Han gets a suspension from the tournament, so he can't take part in the next match. Team Seoul scope out the competition, and Park Ilipo's team wins easily. Team Seoul are walking home together and discussing how they want to get stronger. Han wants to attain Charyuk, but Jin doesn't think that it counts as getting stronger if you use someone else's strength, and he leaves. Han and Mira think something is bothering Jin, but he won't tell them what. Jin had actually just learned that his grandfather is missing and believes he needs to get stronger to help out. Ilipo meets up with Jin in a park and tells him about the time Ilipo and Jin's grandfather as a kid. Jagal tries to attack Jin from behind, but Ilpio protects him. The commissioner suspects that someone is a Nox traitor. They believe that Nox will try to interfere in the go. Han asks Hugh to train him to obtain Charyuk while Mira trains in the Moonlight sword style. They all get notifications on their bracelets that it's Jin's birthday and have a party for him. The next day, Jin receives a mysterious envelope with a picture of his grandfather and a map. Jin races off to rescue Tae-jin. Team Seoul are facing Team Jeju. Commissioner P tells Han and Mira that because of Han's suspension, if Jin isn't back by the start of the second match, Team Seoul will have to forfeit. Han decides to search for Jin. The first match is a tough one for Mira against Lee Marin. Lee pulls out Mira's original sword. He tells her it is actually a national treasure and it transforms from a simple wooden sword into an ornate metal one. Lee stabs Mira through the side. Jin finds his grandfather unconscious on the floor in an abandoned building. It turns out this is a trap. His grandfather explodes and Jin is caught in the blast. A man turns up and apologizes for killing Jin. He says they've had to eliminate another team to speed up the awakening of the key. Jin angrily gets to his feet. Jin is fighting back at the abandoned building. Jin is knocked into a room with the bodies of the Jeju team and learns killed and replaced with fakes. Jin manages to activate the power he tried to unleash in his last match. Mira is about to lose when she realizes that the Jeju team has done something to Jin. This causes her Charyuk to awaken. Her sword is also returning to her hand. She makes short work of Lee but collapses afterwards. Jin catches her before she hits the floor. The second match begins. Han mentions he's never seen Jin look this angry. As the fight happens, there are flashbacks to the fight in the abandoned building. Jin easily wins both. Ulpio enters Go because of his cousin who was seriously injured by Jigal. He wants to use his wish to heal her leg. Jigal has been working alongside Nox since he wants information about the key. Mujin Park walks in on Sang Mandyuk killing the fake Jeju team. He is a prominent member of Nox and has been the one giving orders. Mandyuk summons a giant sword above the Go arena, but Park summons a giant cross as a shield. Ulpio's match against Jin starts. Ulpio seems to outclass Jin in every way. He keeps telling Jin the issue in his fighting style. Jin racks his brain about how to get the upper hand and lands his first hit on Ulpio by using a moonlight sword style attack. He also incorporates some of Han's moves into his arsenal. Eventually, he hits Ulpio with an attack he develops on the fly, knocking Ulpio to the ground. The battle outside the arena is raging. Commissioners are fighting members of Nox, who manage to summon their god to wield Mandyuk's sword. Mujin Park struggles to keep the sword at bay until Seo Hanryang, member of the Six, joins in the battle. Together, they manage to destroy the sword. Ulpio manages to fulfill his promise to Taejin, but decides he can't lose this battle. This causes him to unlock his Charyuk. Everyone notices a weird energy about this Charyuk though. Mandyuk and Mujin Park both realize that Ulpio is the key. In ancient times, there was an incredibly powerful nine-tailed fox spirit. It was so powerful that God appointed it as the guardian of heaven. In time, it grew so strong that God began to fear the fox and ordered its execution. Angry at this treatment, the fox destroyed half of heaven before fleeing to earth. The fox spirit is the key, and Ulpio's Charyuk. Everyone begins to realize that there is something not normal about Ulpio's Charyuk. Ulpio keeps the upper hand throughout, and nothing Jin does can leave a mark. Ulpio goes for the final hit, but something happens to Jin. He manages to knock away Ulpio's attack and uses a giant arm from the sky to crush Ulpio. The match ends, and Jin is the winner. Mandyuk flees, and Mujin Park tells the other commissioners that he suspects everything isn't over. Jin visits Ulpio in the hospital wing. They have a conversation about the match and Taejin. They agree to have another fight after Go. That evening, Jeon, who lost to Jigal in the first round, begins to transform into a demon. He hunts Jigal down. Jigal takes the advantage in the battle, and Jeon's demon's power allow him to absorb people and use their strength. The fight finds its way to Ulpio's ward and he joins the battle. Eventually, Jeon absorbs Ulpio's teammates, but Jigal uses his Charyuk to bite Jeon in half. Unfortunately, this causes one of Ulpio's teammates to lose an arm and the other a leg. Ulpio explodes in a rage and tackles Jigal out of a window. Mandyuk shows up and summons creatures of his god to try and capture the key. The fight is ongoing between the commissioners and Nox. Mujin Park is once again using his Charyuk as a shield to block God from coming to Earth, while the rest of the commissioners are fighting the creatures that have appeared. Jeon Jae-san swears to get revenge for his grandson, who was just bitten in half by Jigal's Charyuk. The fight between Ulpio and Jigal is one-sided as Ulpio's favor until Jigal uses his Charyuk to devour Ulpio. He manages to survive, but the key comes out of his body as a physical object. Everyone fights over the key, and Mandyuk admits to Park that if he gets the key, he will cause an apocalypse. Jin manages to sneak up on Mandyuk and get the key before Mujin Park teleports all of the high schools away from the battle. The USA, sensing that things aren't going too well for Park, launch a nuclear strike at Seoul to try and kill God before it can reach Earth. The battle starts to swing in favor of the forces of Nox, but two members of the Six come to Park's aid. Meanwhile, Han shows Mira his new Charyuk, but they're found by Jigal. They team up to fight but still can't manage to win. Tells Jin he's the only one strong enough to fight Jigal. Park and the Six can't hold God off any longer and the shield breaks. Jae-san manages to teleport everybody out of Seoul. He combines the nukes into one giant missile and summons a meteor from space to help. He smashes through God's shield, causing God and Mandyuk to appear where the high schools are. Jin fights Jigal, but Jigal manages to get the key off him. He devours the key and his Charyuk has transformed into an angel. Jigal tells everyone that he will reduce the world to nothing before launching into battle with everyone. The commissioners realize that Jisan's attack has killed God, but they won't be able to get to the Holy Realm in time to help the kids. Team Soul team up to fight Jigal, but he maintains the upper hand. He attempts a killing blow on Jin and Mira, but Han gets in the way. The anger that Jin feels from this is enough to give him a flashback to former life, where he was the Monkey King. This awakens his powers. He gains access to a magical pole and control of lightning clouds. Using these abilities, he makes short work of Jigal. Mujin Park realizes that Jin isn't a Chariot user, he is actually a god. Having used up his energy, Jin isn't able to call forth his powers, but Jigal gets back up and transforms into a monster made up of the people he killed. Ilpio turns up and he and Team Soul manage to take down Jigal again. Jigal is then devoured by his chariot, and a fragment of the key returns to Ilpio. Ma Bora accidentally wakes up Kim Eun-gyo, founder of the Six. She is an ancient human and the one who grants the wish to the winner of the Go. Mira and Han both give up their claim to the wish, and although he wants to wish Taejan back to him, Jin wishes for everyone wounded by Jigal to be healed. This means that Ilpio's friends grow their limbs back, and nobody is seriously hurt. Jae-san, however, had already died, so is not able to be healed by this magic. Kim tells Jin that Taejan is still alive, and Jin passes out. 3 months later, Jin wakes up. Han and Mira fill him in on what he's missed. The commissioners are planning to take control of South Korea by winning the next election. Mandyuk has received a position of power, and Ilpio has begun to travel the world to get back fragments of the key. Jin's memories have been sealed, but if he returns to the land of the Monkey King, they should return. Team Soul decide to visit the land of the Monkey King together. Thanks for watching today's episode. Let us know what you thought of God of High School in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.